Okay, so good evening, everyone. Guys, I'm Itosha from Waste Warriors again, and welcome to our sixth and final webinar episode for this season. I hope you all have been enjoying our weekly webinar sessions and hope the information that has been shared by our various speakers over the last few weeks have been helpful to you in your normal daily lives. So similarly, we have a very interesting person with us today who will be talking with us on responsible travel and how to make our travel eco-friendly. So we welcome Anshul Kumar Akhori. So there are lots to say about Anshul actually. Then he has a really long history of traveling through the remotest corners of India and Southeast Asia, documenting his experiences through travel blogs. He has been on field with just a backpack for a stretch of more than 3 years continuously, which is a commendable job. And now he's one of the most sought after travel bloggers of India. And he was also awarded the Silver Best Communicator by Outlook Travel India in Responsible Travel category this year. And he has been volunteering with Waste Warriors since 2014 by writing loads of content and video documentaries and all. So he'll be taking us through his journey as a responsible traveler and also give us tips on how to make our travels more eco-friendly and sustainable. So I request all of you, anybody has any questions, please keep the questions pouring in the chat box. At the end of the session, once the presentation is over, we'll be going through a question answer round where Anshul will be very glad to answer them, I think. And also I'll mention about sharing a Google feedback form. I'll be sharing that form in the chat box right now and also at the end of the session. Please provide your honest comments at the end of the session once it is done. So I'll hand over the session to Anshul right now. So Anshul, please, the floor is yours.
Hi guys, so Anshul this side. So when I had started traveling, I started traveling as a backpacker and a very so responsible travel. When it comes to responsible travel, there are like two essential of responsible travel. So one is that when you travel of your basic necessities in a way where you are benefiting the locals as a backpacker and as a tourist. You can benefit locals. You can provide benefit towards them in two different ways. So as a backpacker, your prime duty is to spread awareness among the fellow travelers as well as among the locals where you are traveling. As a tourist, your duty is to spend your money, spend your resources in travel experiences where that again benefits locals. So I have prepared a presentation regarding like what is on the basics of responsible traveling. So let me know if you guys have any questions and you want to know something. So I started responsible travel. When I started backpacking, there was no such word as responsible travel. It became a jingo in after 2000 issues like green traveling and carbon footprint started to become a little mainstream. So at that time, it was like traveling, don't do this, don't do that. We were already following basic norms of traveling, like using local traveling, eating local food, not spending, not traveling with an outsider, outside travel agencies. But over the time, it became a necessity because everyone started realizing what we are following, everyone needs to follow. So responsible and ethical travel are two different words that essentially mean the same thing. Travel, responsible travel is the process of giving back to the community of the place where we are traveling through responsible travel. So when you travel to a certain place, for example, GB, and so in GB you have two choices: either stay at a hotel or stay at a homestay. When you're staying at a hotel, there is not much to do. You follow a certain itinerary. You check into the hotel, then nothing happens. Then you hire a car, and you see the local places, and then go back home. But when you ditch that hotel and opt for a homestay, you not only encourage the locals to opt for these ventures, but also you encourage the people who are running homestay, who are involved in homestay programs in GB, to learn different skills that can be beneficial towards uh, towards tourism sector. For example, when we start, I was working in Leh for a while, Ladakh for a while, and Ladakh has a place called Vanla. So homestay program is very popular over there because global warming and climate change has started reducing the started creating issues with their farming patterns, because glaciers are melting and water is not reaching their farms. So so they started homestay program. Now when they started homestay program, then they realized that they need to train the youth as guides. When they started training the youth as guides, then they realized that they need to develop trekking trails. When they started developing trekking trails, then they realized that they need trek leaders. So in a way, now the entire community is tourism conscious, eco conscious. They are more responsible towards their trails, towards their homestays, towards providing the guest with a more authentic kind of travel experience, right? So when we talk about responsible travel, it is divided into many subsectors. So responsible travel involves slow travel. Slow travel means traveling by local transport instead of opting for a fast medium. Of course, it is not possible for a tourist, but then everyone says, we don't need 100% of people following 100% of 100% sustainable practices, but we need perfectly we don't need 100% people following 100% sustainable practices in a perfect way, but we need 10% people following 10% sustainable practices in an imperfect way. It works. You are doing something but you're missing upon something. It totally works. So essential subsectors of responsible travel are slow travel, where you are taking local transport, you are taking train, you are traveling by bus, you're using any medium that is creating less pollution, reducing your carbon footprint. Then it comes to local food and farm to table. Now the difference between local food and farm to table is that when your local food is like you go to Manali, right, and you opt for the food that is easily available. For example, Siddu, the food that is easily available, easily prepared. Farm to table means you are staying at a hotel or a homestay that has its own farm or has connection with the local farmers who are growing their food and bringing to the kitchen, and you are eating that thing. So both these practices save the local ecology and environment from foreign food, foreign plants that may harm the ecology of that place. The, the third point is minimal waste disposal. Now what happens is, when you travel, and what this is the motto of Waste Warriors, like we are not supposed to use we are not supposed to use plastic. So when you are traveling, you should follow any sustainable medium that where you are saved from using plastic, whether it is bottle, uh, where it is chips, tetra packs, anything that reduces the count of plastic that you are buying. For example, you are carrying a reusable water bottle, so it will reduce your need to buy mineral water bottle by almost 200 to 300 rupees in a 5-day trip. Then if you avoid buying chips and other snacks that are packed in plastic wrappers, then again you save a lot of money, and at the same time you save that local place from any kind of pollution. So waste disposal is a very important part of responsible travel, because when you are traveling to an offbeat spot, or even if to a tourist spot like Manali or Shimla or Dharamshala, so when you don't dispose your waste, you don't come back with zero waste disposal over there. So you save the local community from any foreign product that will pollute their soil and their land. When it comes to responsible travel, it is very important to contribute toward local economy through homestay, handicrafts, and handlooms. Now, what happens is, when you opt for a hotel or when you buy something from middleman, then very less money reaches the local population. For example, yes, you will say that hotel also employs locals, but for if that if the same local has their own homestay, then imagine the earning that they will be getting rather than if you are staying at a hotel. The same thing is with handicrafts and handlooms, because it is often seen that handicrafts and handlooms uh, are sold by the middlemen, by the shopkeepers who buy those products from the artisans and then take a huge commission and give like 10% 20% of the earning to those artisans. So if you cut the middleman and you buy that product directly from the person who is making it, it will be more helpful, and it will actually send more. It will encourage that artisan to continue their craft rather than being dependent on the middleman to sell it, because because huh, uh, then we come to volunteering. Now volunteering is something that is not possible for everyone. So by volunteering, it doesn't only mean that go to Waste Warriors, spend your 2 or 3 days on their collection drives, but you can also join an NGO or an organization as a volunteer for a limited time. For example, an NGO like Waste Warriors that is having a kiosk or that is having a outdoor activity, that 2 hour outdoor activity, where the job is to spread pamphlets and speak with the tourists. So as a volunteer you can also do that for 2 hours, and it will add something to that organization, and it will add something to your travel experience. At the same time, the organization will find a helping hand, that organization will find a helping hand that will bring down the need for that will actually help in spreading their message in a very impactful way. Now when it comes to responsible travel, these days it is very common to see festivals happening everywhere. So what festivals do is introduce the travelers to the local culture, and uh, and it is very important to in showcasing that showcasing how beautiful a certain place is when you eliminate any kind of touristy activity from that place. So culture seeking encourages the locals to promote to continue their dance, continue the festivals in a and not only continue but make it in a something big, so that more travelers come and more tourists come and stay at their homestay, eat their food, and give them an additional earning. Then we come to local arts. So local art is something that is that can be learned in any of the most of the points that I have shared above. So what happens is, so when you are going to a festival, or when you are staying at a homestay, or you're connecting with a artisan. So if you learn local art, you will be sending some sort of income to their household, even if the artist is not charging anything, and you are still showing interest in their local art. Then what happens is you get to encourage them to continue it, because more people are interested in learning. So that's it. That was like the essential branches of responsible travel. And coming to next slide. So yeah, I'll give you an example. What in Nagaland, Hornbill Festival started like I think 12 or 15 years ago, and before that, a lot of these things homestay program was not there. Local food expenses were not there, and the region was very disconnected from the mainstream tourist map. So slowly, Hornbill Festival started bringing a lot of travelers over there. So when the travelers started coming, they needed places to stay. So a couple of hotels came up in the city, and then locals started offering stay at their homes. this was a practice that in last 5 years has spread throughout Nagaland. There are so many homestays. There are so many uh, not only homestays but farm stays and different kind of stay experiences that through which the locals are now enjoying a life of prosperity. So when you opt for a responsible travel, you stay at a homestay, you eat local food, you encourage an artist to continue their work, then it benefits the society and it benefits everyone in that tourism chain. And even the middlemen who are earning through by eating up the profits of that artisan, they also realize that no, this is not the right way I am functioning, and they start developing other ways of their earning and being a part of that tourism chain. So now we'll talk about benefits of responsible travel. So when it comes to benefits of responsible travel, there are several benefits. So I've divided it into multiple parts, and I'll give you a couple of examples. So as I explained above, that responsible travel is beneficial to local community. So obviously, when you are traveling responsibly and staying at hotels, you are staying at eating local food, you are volunteering with local organizations. Then the locals are not forced to introduce new foreign material, foreign food in their environment, right? And then if you are a responsible tourist, then you will be shopping locally without connecting to a middleman, because your money will support the people who live there and create those products, rather than supporting those who are just there to eat the profit from the person who is actually working hard on creating that jewelry or a toy or a clothing material. Then it comes with then responsible travel helps preserve the local culture. So what happens that every part of India has some festival, some art, some dance, some music, and there are chances that when you go somewhere, there may not be a lot of touristy places to see, right? Now what happens is, if you identify one festival in one season, like for example, I'm not giving example of India, I'm giving an example of Bhutan. So if the Bhutan is a place that it has a lot of monasteries. So every monastery has their own foundation day, what you can call foundation day. And these foundation days, on these foundation days, they celebrate their festival. For example, Naka festival, Paro festival, there's a place called Ha Valley which celebrates summer festival. So all these festivals have something common, that you go there and you do nothing, just enjoy their local dance, local music, local you introduce yourself to local food, local clothes, everything. So when you spend your money on an experience like this, on a festival or sort of similar event, then that the people of those places are encouraged towards teaching their children that about their art, rather than otherwise it is like it will vanish and it will get extinct. So what happens is, if the culture is not preserved, so what will happen is that the outside tourist forces will start contaminating the local culture. So this dance will be lost. And for example, I will give you an example of Goa. So what happens is, now when you go to Goa, all you know about Goa is pubs and bars and similar things. So because Goa tourism initially failed to promote their local culture, local festivals, Goa has a lot of local festivals. They had a festival in April. They had a festival, I think last week, Saulim or something like that. So go. So now, but now what happens is, now no one knows about those festivals. No one knows about Goa Carnival. No one knows about Jagori. No knows about these festivals. If they had promoted their tourism in a way where the tourists were getting finding awareness about the local local this thing culture, then the outside forces of the bar and pub culture would not have contaminated the place, but now it has. So in a very balanced way, when you are somewhere, when a group of 30 or 40 tourists start showing interest in attending Goa Carnival, so Goa tourism will realize that yeah, this is something that we can focus upon. So you are going to that place. For example, you are going to Punakha. You are buying ticket to attend that festival. Since you are showing interest, so the festival committee will realize that they should spend more focus, more time on making the festival bigger and grander next year. This is what happens is happening in Northeast right now. So Hornbill Festival has increased its size. I can say size in size with as the years have passed. Now they have come to a point where they don't need to, but they used to keep improving, learning from mistakes, case studies, and all. So a similar thing is happening in Manipur with Sangai Festival. Similar thing is happening in Arunachal with Zero Music Festival. So everyone tries to make the festival better so that the guest who has left with a little bit of unsatisfaction that I came here after spending so much time and so much money, it was not worth it. The person who comes next time on the next year, they don't have to complain the same thing. And the biggest advantage is that instead of opting for a foreign product to promote tourism in that region, responsible tourism is very dependent on the existing resources and the available experiences. So like you are going to Arunachal, you are going to Zero. Now Zero, if there was no Zero festival, Dri festival, Dri festival is a festival of Apatanis who celebrate their harvest every year in the month of September. Sorry, July. Yeah, in July. So if Dri was not there, so the locals would have been forced to introduce some sort of trekking trail or a national park jeep safari. But now they don't have to do that. Their trails are safe. Their forests are safe. The locals are coming, enjoying the local culture, local dance, local food, and they are going back. So this is beneficial for the locals as well as tourists. So responsible travel is also very helpful in preserving the environment. So the photo that you are seeing is from Velas. So what used to happen in Velas till like 5 years ago or before that was that a lot of olive ridley turtles used to visit the beaches of Ratnagiri, not only Velas but Anjarle, Dapoli. They used to lay their eggs, and those eggs were then stolen by the locals. So an NGO called Sahyadri Nisarg Mitra developed a plan, started training locals on how to preserve these eggs, save these eggs from dogs or any kind of predators, and they also started this thing. What am I supposed to explain? They also started homestay program. So now the locals found a source of earning. They don't have to steal the eggs for their food, and now they are enjoying a very unique status on the tourism map of Maharashtra. And Velas and Anjarle in particular are now known as eco-friendly villages of Maharashtra. So through responsible travel, so by promoting responsible travel, Sahyadri Nisarg Mitra ensured that the local resources will be used in a very sustainable and a controlled way. And what happens is when you, at the same time as a backpacker or as a tourist, when you travel slow, when you have, so what happens is like what differentiates a tourist from a traveler or a backpacker is, for a tourist has an itinerary of 5 places in 5 days. So if you reduce it to 2 places in 5 days, you will automatically opt for slow travel. You will be taking less taxi rides, even if you don't like buses and you want to travel in car. So you will be taking less taxi rides. You will be walking more. You will be seeing a lot of things in that area that is not present on the local itinerary or local blogs. So this will make the place less polluted. You will get to know about some of the sustainable practices over there, and you will find a way to come back to that place to experience something different in the future, rather than adding a lot of places in a limited number of time and add a few places in a in that time, and improve your experience, because honestly, when you are traveling in that region, you are seeing the same thing over and over again. And then we come to zero plastic usage. So zero plastic usage is a very important part of this responsible travel to preserve environment, because the more plastic you use, the more you create the danger uh, of uh, you create the danger of soil pollution and ground pollution. Plastic also goes into in the river. Plastic also goes in water. And the locals, since the locals don't know how to dispose plastic, they burn it. Burnt plastic then seeps in the soil, and then it comes out in their farms and all. So they are essentially consuming microplastic in water, and you are essentially consuming microplastic in return, because that water is coming to town in form of a bigger river. So you are polluting that place, and then that pollution is reaching your home in a very indirect way. So you are also consuming microplastic. So avoid plastic, opt for the materials that you can reuse and reuse during your travel, and it will preserve the environment of that place. So responsible travel provides job for the locals. So the photo that you are seeing here is of a homestay in Western Ladakh that the locals have developed, because climate change has reduced their pattern of farming, and they cannot cannot rely on livestocking on their sheep and goat, because um, because of changing patterns of the animals. So now the grass on the upper hills are there is less grass growing on upper hills, which has brought the herbivores that used to live in the upper hills on the lower hills, closer to the villages, because and now they attack their farms, eat their crops and all. This pattern has brought the predators like snow leopards and wolves closer to human settlements. This has created a very big problem of man-animal conflict. So when you are traveling with a responsible travel company, you will be staying at a homestay like this. So what they earn from a farming season of entire 6 months, a group of five eco-conscious travelers can provide them in 1 month. If if a group of 2 or 3 stays there one by one for a month. So this way they will be they will slowly develop their skills, make their homestays better, and it will be better. It will be good for every party. It will be beneficial for every party. So through a local responsible travel company, uh, through a local through a responsible travel company, you will be traveling with locals instead of outsiders who have a better knowledge of that place, their heritage, their hidden treasures of that place that a tourist company will not know. Okay. And then when responsible travel provides job for locals, they also get a chance to develop their skills, and the natives become more knowledgeable about different practices. As I explained above, that someone is learning, someone is becoming a guide, someone is becoming a better cook, someone is becoming a trekking expert and all. now now I have been giving focus on homestays, but eco-friendly hotels are eco-friendly hotels that have their own farms, that have their own sustainable practices like zero waste, segregation units, zero plastic consumption. They also tend to employ locals in that area. So this is also a key method to for skill development. And ultimately, responsible travel is fun, because you will be spending night at a home farm stay instead of a hotel. So what happens in a hotel? So you go to a hotel, your receptionist gives you a key, and that's it. You check in a hotel, you come back, you get in a car, see the place, and then go back to your town. Instead, you stay at a farm stay, and you will meet a local family. You will become friends with them. They will not only show you the touristy places, but they will show you unique things about their villages. They will tell you about unique things about their villages that you would have not known without if you had stayed in a hotel. If you had stayed in a general hotel, if you stay in a eco-friendly hotel or a sustainable hotel, then this would have been very helpful. Then you get to eat local food. So when you are traveling to a place, eat food of that place rather than opting for the same thing that you get at home. This will save their plantations. This will help their their soil, as they're used to the same kind of farms for years, and and the locals will not be forced to introduce something foreign in their land. Then as a eco conscious tourist, as a responsible tourist, when you are staying at a homestay, you will also get a chance to learn about local art, music, dance. So this is something that is very, not a lot of people like to focus on, but I think more people should learn their art, music, dance, painting, and embroidery, so that it doesn't diminishes at it doesn't gets lost in a local community, but more people get to practice that art in their homes, in their towns as well. And ultimately, when you are traveling responsibly, when you are slow traveling, or staying at a homestay, then you will discover unknown trails. A commercial tourist agency will not able to provide you these experiences, especially the unknown, especially helping you find an unknown temple or a waterfall or a short hike, because they have a fixed itinerary, and these offbeat gems don't fit in that itinerary. And even if they will provide you these experiences, then it will come under an offbeat package that will cost you more than 20%, 30% more than the regular package. If you stay at a farm stay, you will be spending less, you will be saving a lot of money, and at the same time you will be experiencing way more than if you are spending 20,000 with a travel company. You will be coming back from the homestay by spending like 10 or 15,000. So that's the difference. So how are we supposed to help locals? So obviously eat local foods. If you opt for a 3-day yoga class, 3-day for example, in Bihar there are a lot of Madhubani painting workshops. So 7-day Madhubani painting workshops, 3-day Madhubani painting workshop. If you go to Kutch, there are a number of artworks in Kutch. So every village has their own style of embroidery, every painting, handicraft, and each of them has a workshop. So you can opt for 3-day workshop, 4-day workshop, 1 week workshop. Some of the foreigners come there for 15, 20-day workshops as well. So what happens is, and this is connected to the last point as well, where if you buy souvenirs for local artisans. So for both second and third points are will help these locals in preserving their artworks, preserving their culture, preserving their traditions, and and the next generation will happily carry it, because they will see that their parents are enjoying and earning well from the by teaching the tourists about their local artworks, by selling their local toys, selling local clothes, local jewelries and all. So the next generation will be interested in promote, and generation by generation, more people get more ideas about how to promote their business. So it is possible that the next generation person will grow up as an entrepreneur and set the business on a larger scale. If discouraged, if discouraged, the same person will opt for will migrate to a bigger city, and then start doing the same job that a lot of migrants do, and in process the art will be slowly lost. So this practice in Kutch is something that is very unique. It is also happening in some parts of Karnataka. It's happening in Kerala, where you will see that the coir industry was saved by a similar kind of initiative, where the locals started buying coir to save their check dams. And coir was the locals slowly learned how to make toys out of coir, carpet out of coir, how to make souvenirs out of coir. So it happened in a very slow way, but since tourists kept showing interest, tradition, it didn't get lost. Now coming to can you be a responsible traveler? So I think I've already shared enough about ways to which you can be a responsible traveler. But if in short, like since this is the last slide, so first you will have to discover alternatives to air travel because air has a lot of pollution. So until unless you are not, you don't need a very urgent medium of travel. Taking a train or a bus is a very genuine, very easy way to travel from one place to another. So I understand a lot of people cannot opt against it. But then if you are doing any sustainable practice in your personal life for 20 days, then one day of air travel can be can be excused. Again, stay at an eco-friendly hotel or a homestay or a lodging. This will help locals in earning a little more, living a little more safe. Their children will get better education. Local transport and group travel save a lot of save a lot of money and is also an key factors towards green travel and eco-friendly travel, because local transport and group travel don't create that much carbon footprint. And recycle. So don't buy a plastic bottle. Keep a reusable bottle and refill it again and again. So when you are traveling, you can recycle and reuse this thing. Use bottles. For example, if you're carrying bhujia or some snacks from your home in a jar, in a plastic jar, rather than buying lays over buying any kind of snacks on the road, so you will be saving a lot. At the same time, you will be at your home. You will be giving local bhujia maker or a local snacks maker an alternate source of income. So, and ultimately you should volunteer and give back to the community. So when you are traveling, you are volunteering for 2 hours, you are volunteering for one day as a guest teacher, as a guest lecturer, as a guest yoga teacher. If you know how to, if you know like how to make videos, and you volunteer with a local group for a day, help them make a video for their campaign. It is a great way to give back to the community. So thanks a lot, guys. I guess this session helped you all. So just let me know if you have any question.
Thanks a lot, Anshul. Yeah, I totally agree with all your points. And, after traveling with you personally, I know how ardently you follow all these rules. And most importantly, these are so easy steps to follow, like for a bigger goal. So thank you so much for sharing all these things. And anybody wants to ask any questions, please go ahead. Please fire away to Anshul. Yes, Manaswita, please go ahead.
Hi, Anshul. Thank you for the session. So I just wanted to ask you, when I have these discussions with a couple of my friends always usually have this feedback that, a holiday is meant for enjoyment, relaxation, luxury. So why should we compromise on those fronts when going for a holiday? Because it's our time off, right?
Right.
So So, I mean,
Yeah.
what would you say to uh, people who have that school of thought?
So I like to shamelessly plug my podcast over here. So in the last episode, I have a discussion with Mr. Narendra Patil, who is a environmentalist from Ladakh. So I had this question with him because I asked him like this is happening and what we should do. So when you see, you spoke about having fun and leisure and all. So when you opt there, it is not that all homestays are like a place where you're sleeping on the ground. No, it's not. It's not true. So there are very luxurious homestays. They are amazing farm stays where you will be finding same comfort that you will be finding with a 3-star or 4-star luxury hotel, and you will be paying way less. At the same time, you will be learning local arts. You will get to see local festivals. You will get to enjoy. You will get to take part, learn their dance, music, and everything. If you want to have fun, you want to discover a local trail, you want to go on a trekking, then these local homestays knows more about these local trails and local hidden gems than compared to a travel company. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to say that traveling responsibly will reduce my level of fun. In fact, traveling responsibly will increase your level of fun, because imagine if you, even if you are a luxury seeker and you choose that you will not take a car to your hotel, and instead you will take a bus, or take a short hike to that place. So in that way, you will be burning your calories. You will be adding a new experience to your trip, and at the same time you will indirectly or maybe directly, consciously or unconsciously, contributing towards creating a less carbon footprint during your travel. So it can be fun, depends on how you perceive it. And as a backpacker, there are times when I come across homestays that are way costlier than I can afford. So it's not like all homestays are like 500 rupees and you sleep at a in a room with your host only. So no, it's not like that.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Thanks, Manaswita.
Yeah. Anshul, for like a lot of places you mentioned about a responsible travel company, eco-friendly travel company groups. Do you have any specific recommendations for, like, in your travel experience that you can tell to the people out here that probably you can go ahead with, because there are very less, as far as I know, that who are actually eco-friendly travel companies and who actually follow the sustainable travel rules. So, is there any recommendation that you want to give?
Yeah, so you can always, if you are going to Ladakh, you can opt for Himalayan farm stays. It started in Payang, and it is an initiative by Himalayan Institute of HIAL. I don't know the full name. In Himalayan Institute of Alternate Lifestyle or something like that. So you can opt for that. Then in Uttarakhand, you have Goat Village. So in Nagaland, is a Naga Eco Tour company. So there are a couple of these the responsible travel companies that you can opt for. And you can also, like, before booking a travel company, you should like ask that who will be taking before the trip, where are we staying, analyze that how it will be benefiting the locals, how it will be helpful for the locals. So after you, like, see, and then if you, even if you are going with a commercial trekking company, so it is what commercial travel company. So if, even if you personally follow sustainable rules, like not buy plastic bottles, and not choose a homestay over a hotel. So even if you are going with a commercial trekking company, even then you will be following a responsible travel method in a indirect way.
Right. Okay. Anybody else has any questions? Then I have some questions. Okay, just let me. What I wanted to ask was, Anshul, your journey has been extraordinary. Like, whatever you have been doing has been great, and it's not like you mentioned in the earlier slides that it was, no, when you started your journey, it was not, backpacking was not a thing yet, but now a lot of people do it. So, wanted to ask if anybody that you managed to influence in your friends or family to adopt the lifestyle that you are leading right now. Like, that's a very difficult lifestyle, I can understand, but it's like very
Uh,
sustainable.
yeah, but the thing is ki, again, like, you don't need to do 100% of sustainable practices in a 100% perfect way. So even if someone is opting for something in a
Mhm.
for something like not, I will not get plastic bags, like, so that also counts, because you are doing something for the environment, whatever is in your control. So yeah, I have had discussions, regular discussions on my social media channels, and people do tell me that I started doing this after reading your post. I started doing this, that after reading your post. So yeah, I think a couple of people have. It's not about influencing until unless someone is someone themselves start opting for this thing, because it is very difficult. Ultimately, you will be like, नहीं यार ये मेरे से नहीं हो रहा, I can't I should uh, I should not opt for this. But it is like a small practice. For example, if you start saying no to straws in restaurants, For example, if you go to an ice cream wala and carry your own uh, container, so
Yeah.
there are chances that if I'm doing that, someone standing next to me is also seeing that if that person can do that, then why can't I? So yeah, I do have had discussions with a couple of people that I started doing that, I started doing this. Uh, so yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good. Great. Like you're setting an example. Like we all look for an example normally and then follow. Yeah. And what about like when you're because I know that you have been on field for a long period of time on at a regular stretch. Like, I when I met you in Nagaland, you were already traveling for 2 years on the ground. But anything that specific that you reduce in your backpack that is absolutely not necessary, apart from bottles you have mentioned already that mineral water bottles are not required. You can just carry a bottle and don't have to buy bottles all the time. But anything else that you will suggest everybody to just can be reduced when you're traveling in your backpack, and probably if you even if you're carrying, just bring it back and not leave it behind.
So when I started traveling, I used to carry a lot of t-shirts and jeans, and it was because so there was no such reason, but I used to carry a lot of clothes. I think
Okay.
if if you are like if you have a mindset that where you don't need a you can travel on a long stretch where you don't need to change your clothes you can wash your clothes every day, but don't need to wash them in bulk, right? So when you are carrying 10 pieces of t-shirt and you opt to wash all 10 pieces of t-shirt in one day, so it results in water pollution, it results in wastage of water, and at the same time chances are that you are leaving microplastic in the in the local ground, in the ground of that place. So now I have reduced the number of t-shirts to 5 or 6. Earlier used to be like 10 to 10, 12, something like that. I have also purchased there are a couple of garment makers in Goa and all where that manufacture t-shirts from waste plastic. So I have two of them with
Nice.
me now. So
Okay.
so the number of t-shirts went down, uh, and so the thing is not like when you have a big bag rucksack, like a 70-liter rucksack, you will automatically feel like you need to fill it till the top. So switch to a 40-liter rucksack or a 50-liter rucksack, and you will realize that I don't need that many things. So and I think that actually instead of reducing, I had to like increase a couple of things, because eventually I realized that everyone gives snacks, chaat, and noodles and everything in those disposable plates. So I started carrying my own
Right.
lunchbox. Then I started carrying my own straw. But then I did realize that I don't need straw at all. So, but I carry,
Yeah.
yeah. Then I started carrying my own spoon. Started carrying my own fork after going to Thailand. So I started carrying my own spoon and fork. So yeah, so some items have reduced, and some items have increased.
That's really, really great.
And
Yeah, this is something that we have been telling. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
uh, no, you continue.
Now that this is something that we have been continuously telling as a part of our sustainable travel campaign to all the volunteers and people and tourists coming in, that carry just carry your own things, like can just carry one box, carry one spoon, or one if you're really really passionate about straws, then carry one steel straw, like then
Yeah,
no need to like yeah.
and don't carry anything that you know that it will be like uh, it will break or will be unusable after a while. So don't carry that. Don't carry it. It is like a waste of
Right.
resources, waste of your money, and then it will end up at a dump site in that the place you are traveling.
Yeah. Okay. And how was your, because I know that you have been volunteering with Waste Warriors since 2014, you're doing that when Avinash was here in Dharamshala. And so how has been your overall experience with Waste Warriors till now? And any suggestions that you want to give?
So the experience has been really good. Uh, it has been a good learning experience for me because when I started in 2014. So I didn't know much about responsible travel or waste management also. So this was like the stepping stone from where I started researching and started learning more about it. So, and with Waste Warriors, I also got to learn develop my skills in a way. For example, I didn't used to do a lot of video editing, but started with the first couple of projects that I got was through Waste Warriors. Then this I never made creatives for my work. So the first couple of creatives that I made was I think with Waste Warriors. No, it was one of the agencies for whom I made the creative. So yeah, it has been a good learning experience till now.
That's really great. Guys, we have 3 minutes left. If you have any questions, please ask. We can then wrap it up. And just to let you know, this is the last session of this entire season of webinars by Waste Warriors. So we'll be meeting after a little while. So till then, please, you still have some time. Please go ahead and ask the questions if you have anything for Anshul. Okay, I don't see anybody asking questions. Just the last question then, Anshul. Right now, the world is going through a very, very bad phase. You can see everybody is stuck. A traveler like you is stuck at home. But then, the virus threat will still be there. It's not going to go away just like that. It's going to be there for some more time. But people will start to travel again. So what do you suggest, small tips that people should be taking care of while traveling post-COVID era? So anything that you want to specifically mention?
So again, I like to plug my podcast. So this is something that I discuss with my guests all the time. So it is a time to relearn your style of traveling. If you're going to a place, then research about what rules they are following right now and don't throw your medical waste, don't throw your gloves, mask. I have been seeing it lying everywhere. So don't throw it at some waterfall and then create dangers of infection among the locals. Uh, and for a while, till a year or a year and a half, choose not to go to offbeat places, not because you may end up infecting a local, but the chances are if you end up getting infected yourself, then you won't find medical help on time. So for a while, forget the concept of offbeat. uh, uh, and if you're going to a festival, you're going to a music festival, then comply with the rules and regulations of that place, so that you don't so that your well-being and your health is maintained.
Right. Great. That's really, really something that we should look out for right now. Okay, so I think I'll just wrap it up then. If nobody else has any questions to Anshul. So thank you, Anshul, for joining us today. It was so great to have you here for all of us. And I hope the tips that you shared will be really helpful to all who are watching this video. And once it is uploaded in the YouTube, anybody who will be watching, it will be useful for them. So, and I'd like to mention, Anshul has some great writings published online on his personal blog spot called thedailypassenger.com. Whenever you get some time, please go through his writings, which are really inspirational and informative. He has his own podcast channel, which he has already pitched twice. So he has his own podcast channel, which you can listen through platforms like Spotify, and that is also in the name of Daily Passenger. Correct me if I'm wrong, Anshul, in that one.
No.
Yeah, and also you can follow him on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. All the platforms is there. As Daily Passenger and as Anshul Kumar Akhori. You can search him anywhere. And he has really, really nice posts. So, yeah, and for more details on Waste Warriors, please feel free to visit our website, www.wastewarriors.org. This particular session, as I mentioned, will be in our YouTube channel. So please feel free to share it if you have found it useful for any of you. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are all everywhere, and just get to get updates on all our upcoming activities and ongoing events that are happening. We are almost back on the field. We are doing a lot of things, so keep a track of them. Help us out in any way possible. One last reminder to all the participants: please help us, improve by filling the feedback form. Once again, thank you all for joining in and making this entire session so wonderful. Special thanks to Manusmita from our team, who has been the backbone of this entire season of webinars for the Waste Warriors, and wouldn't have been possible without her. So we hope you all enjoyed this as much as we had making this. And we'll be coming up with the next season very soon with some more fun-filled facts, activities, and discussions. Until then, all of you, please, please, please stay safe, keep smiling, and we'll all fight this together. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye bye.